What's going on, everybody? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know who it is. This is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, brought to you by MSOTD Rocks, where rock and metal thrive. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It is July 28th, and this Friday, you've got one hell of an album coming out your way, and we're going to talk all about it and the state of the scene. Not the podcast, but the actual state of the scene when it comes to music. But before we do that, I want to thank our sponsor, Phoenix Fitness, for this video and this podcast and everything that goes along with it because, well, man, concerts back, mosh pits happening, me jump into them, going crazy at all these shows, all these concerts, and I want to make sure that I can keep doing what I'm doing, keep going, and not tap out halfway through because I want to make sure my fitness is on top of its game, especially for myself as well. Make sure that I have the best cardio I can, lift the most that I can, and just keep being the healthiest person I can be. So I hit the gym a lot, hit certain fitness goals, but I want to make sure that when I recover and, prepare myself for it and make sure my body continues to build up, I want to make sure I'm good with that. That's where Phoenix Fitness comes in with all different supplements like pre-workouts, creatines, proteins for both AM and post-workout, different BCAA compounds to help you recover after your workouts, different multivitamins, everything you could possibly want is part of their repertoire. So please go check them out to help reach your fitness goals. Our listeners get 15% off using the code MSOTD at Phoenix Fitness. You can click on the link in the description of the podcast. Check that out. Again, use code MSOTD for 15% off your entire order. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. But my God, get ready for this episode because I get to talk to Bert from Captain Chunk, all about their brand new album, Gone Are the Good Days, coming out on July 30th, 2021, coming your way. The band is back, and again, we talk about the album and the state of the scene, not the podcast, but we talk about the actual state of the scene. Are you guys ready? This is one of my favorite conversations of all time. Enough with me previewing it. Let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girl listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast, the band with probably the best name I have ever heard for a band. I have them on the podcast today. Their brand new album, Gone Are the Good Days, comes out on July 30th, their first album since 2016, and I cannot wait to actually have this conversation with this man right now. So please welcome Bert from the band Captain Chunk. So Bert, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you for having me. I'm very glad to be part of the show, and I really like the fact that you said that our band name was actually cool because we got like a lot of shit just for that.
Really? Why would you get so much shit for it? Because if you ever seen the Goonies, you remember that scene where all of a sudden everyone looks up the pirate ship. They're like, Chunky's here. No. Captain Chunk, and it's memorable, and it just stand out just because you take a look at band names. It's a lot of them, they're very simplistic, very similar, and this one just stands out because it makes no sense, but it makes all the sense in the world at the same time as well.
Sure. I guess a lot of people don't even have the reference, so I guess if you don't have the Goonies reference, then it's just odd, it's just weird, and plus there's like that weird like punctuation going, so but when we came up to that with that name, we didn't really think of like how that would be received, especially in the United States, So it was just us, having fun with, our own band name, I would say. But at least, we get noticed. We get noticed just by our name, so which is pretty cool, actually.
Oh, I can easily see that as well. And if people don't get the reference, please go watch the Goonies to get the reference because Chunk is one of the best characters in any 80s movie of all time, especially when they do, hey, Chunk, do the truffle shuffle. And then he finally does it. Or the scene where they're going to put his hand in the blender and he's crying and confessing to all these things he's done in his entire life. But it's just something where it's different. It's not going to be the same similar band name structure. It's something that completely stands out. So anytime you'd see it on a tour poster or a festival poster, you're going to be drawn to it because the punctuation is completely different than many other bands or really any other band at that point. On top of that, if you get the reference, you want to go check out what kind of music they make due to the fact that, okay, they're making a Goonies reference. I just want to know what the hell this is about.
Actually, I have a very funny story just about that. We have such a weird band name that, we got like noticed even from like other artists that we toured with. For example, we were on that festival in Australia. It was Soundwave, which was pretty much like the biggest ever like lineup ever that has ever existed. That was like Metallica was headlining. There was Blink-182, Linkin Park, Paramore, The Offspring with Sum 41. Like huge lineup. And we were like obviously one of the smallest band, but we were still on the main flyer. And I think, it's not that I think, I'm sure. I think Stone Sour was playing. It was not Slipknot, but like Stone Sour was playing, and we got noticed by Corey Taylor, which was playing the Soundwave, just because he was like, oh, that's just a weird band name. I'm gonna check these guys out. And so he actually really enjoyed our show. And what's funny is that after that we got like a huge page about us on that big magazine that's called Metal Hammer, which is completely out of our zone, I would say, because we like, it's very rare when we are credited on like that kind of like very metal press. But we got like a huge, like a big picture, big interview and all of that on that magazine, just because of Corey Taylor, who got like curious because of our band name. That's the story.
That is an incredible story, but you wouldn't be surprised to hear that, when it comes to Corey Taylor, especially with a lot of publications when it comes to rock and metal, not only in the United States, but around the world. Metal Hammer, Metal Injection, Alt Press, Kerrang, Loudwire. There's very like ingrained with whatever Corey Taylor is doing. I mean, hell, Loudwire, when Slipknot came out with We Are Not Your Kind, the website was dedicated to Slipknot and Corey Taylor. They didn't do any press for anything else outside of just that for that whole entire week. So it does make sense where Metal Hammer would pick you guys up in terms of the fact that Corey Taylor was interested in you and guys have an interesting name. But it doesn't make, it's not too far-fetched, especially listening to your music, because you do bring in some of those heavier riffs. You do bring in some of those unclean vocals at that time as well. And listening to other bands that kind of have some like time that similar style, where you bring in pop punk, you bring in metalcore, some post-hardcore stuff. Think about A Day to Remember, for example. They're usually covered on a lot of those places as well. So it makes a lot of sense that they could also pick you up and have it not really seem like it's way out of the box.
I mean, we've always been in between, like you said, like we've been like blending those two genres, but like we're doing it in a very, specific way. We're doing this like the way we want it to be. And I guess, especially at the beginning of the band's career, we got like a lot of shit just for playing the kind of music we were playing, just because, especially when you listen to our first album, it's kind of like, it's not so pop punk, not so metal, or it goes like extreme both ways, but like we're doing this within the same song, like if you take a band like A Day to Remember, for example, like they will have heavy songs and they will have, all like poppier songs. Like us, we've always tried to blend those two like completely opposite style of music, like be like in the same song. And I feel like this is why, maybe not, I don't know, I might be wrong, but this is why we got like, I don't know, a lot of shit just for doing this. But this was a long time ago, and I feel like also we made our music evolve a little bit. So I don't know, but there's always going to be metal purists and pop punk purists. So within those two communities, we've always been kind of like that odd type of band who've been doing some weird shit. I don't know how to explain, but yeah, we've been always in between.
No, I know, Bert, exactly what you mean on that, because there are people that are in the metal group and the pop punk group where they only like specifically that genre and they're going to stick with it to any given point. Like with the pop punk purists, if it doesn't sound like Blink-182 or New Found Glory or Good Charlotte or Sum 41, then they don't want to deal with it. And when it comes to metal, if it's like, if it's not like Metallica or Slayer or Pantera, they don't want anything to do with it. Or like you bring in a metalcore as well, if it's not pure metalcore, kind of like Killswitch Engage, As I Lay Dying, even some like Under Oath, they're really not going to latch onto it. But as you've seen over the course of, I would say even like the past 10 years with your band, use A Day to Remember, for example, the blending of genres and the blending of styles is seeming to be more accepted because the learning curve has been there. It is a little bit of a steeper learning curve, but the time frame has passed. I mean, hell, I think I wore the perfect shirt with this by wearing a falling in reverse shirt, because the genre styles that Ronnie Radke is, but specifically on the trilogy singles and Popular Monster, you're just getting this completely different, like, I mean, you're throwing metalcore in with hip hop and rap and like this deeper sound, and now people are absolutely loving it. I mean, I absolutely love the sound as well. So it just maybe it would take some time where you guys were at the front of that, and people were just kind of standoffish because, oh, it's different, we don't know what to do. Ah!
Yeah, right. I totally agree with that, and I can tell just from like our touring experiences, because we started touring in like 2011, and throughout the years, I could tell that our music was getting more and more accepted, because obviously we've been on both kind of tours. We've been on like the very metal tours and also the very pop punk tours, and you can tell when you're getting on stage or playing your first song, and like you can feel that the room is not really following, and like they're trying to understand what you're doing. But usually we noticed that at the end of our shows, it would be like the whole room was kind of like vibing and will join the party. So which was great to see. And I can tell that our first years of touring have been always kind of like, every shows have been kind of like a challenge, just because there was a new crowd to actually connect with. That was not always here for us. But yeah, like you said, I feel like people have get used to that kind of combination. So, and now in 2021 that we are releasing a new album, I feel like our kind of music kind of like really speak to people, just like that positive energy. Really, a lot of people can relate to that right now, I feel like.
No, yeah, especially with what we went through in 2020, given the pandemic, where everything got shut down, everyone was kind of nervous to see what happened. And honestly, one thing I've been seeing since 2020 going into 2021 is been, especially I'll use metalcore as an example, just with an angrier sound, a lot more unclean vocals. There's been a lot of great music that has come out there because it was really speaking to this time of just this anger, this kind of tenacity, this rawness that we didn't know what was going on. But now coming out of the pandemic, touring, resuming once again, being able to see bands play live, for myself, getting to mosh pits, getting my face completely punched a couple of times and feeling alive once again. There's a certain kind of enjoyment that's behind. There's a certain kind of just real like happiness that comes to it. And when I was listening to Gone Are the Good Days through the whole entire record, that was one thing I noticed was the record was just it was fun to listen to all the way through. It was enjoyable to listen to all the way through. And it's felt like, at times it took itself seriously, at times it didn't take itself seriously. So you could really embrace the whole entire thing, enjoy it, while also having so many different curveballs thrown at you left and right, because there were so many different attributes on so many of these songs that I had never expected you guys to even try.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate your comments on the album, and because, well, we don't so far we haven't got like a lot of comments talking about the whole thing. We didn't want to like the album to spread out too much, so I feel like also the label has been pretty cautious with that. They haven't sent that to a lot of people, but that's cool. That's actually what we wanted this album to be, like from start to finish, kind of like an experience of like, well, first, you'll never, I mean, I hopefully people won't get bored at some point. I feel like all of the songs, like each song has its own like vibe or anything, and you're switching song, you're kind of like entering a different world. So yeah, I guess that was our main focus while we were songwriting for the album. Just like trying to obviously create the best songs as possible, make the best song as possible, but also have that kind of like variety, kind of having it like very diverse in a way. And yeah, I really appreciate that you said that you felt that you enjoyed the whole thing. Just because, I mean, and I really hope a lot of people will react the same way. That was totally the idea. It's not like a concept album where there's like a story or anything, but I feel like there's a lot of topics and different songs that kind of like talk to each other. Some songs are kind of like connected to each other somehow. Like for example, the first single we released, which was Bitter, and Gone Are the Good Days, are kind of like playing with that kind of like nostalgia, positive nostalgia kind of topic, which I feel like is very interesting to do in 2021 with like the COVID and everything. I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. But there's also, some like more like love songs, which is like the first thing we're actually doing. It took us like four records, but it's actually like the first love songs that we've ever written. But yeah, each song has its own vibe, but I feel like when you listen to the whole thing, it make a lot of sense as a whole. So yeah, I really hope like a lot of people will get that, and that's why I'm so stoked for this album to be released, just because I want everyone to experience the whole thing, the entire thing.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing I've been saying consistently for the past couple months on the podcast, I'm going to say it once again for everyone listening. So if you have been listening for a while, you know exactly where I'm going to go with this. If you haven't been listening for a while, then trust me on this. When it comes to any album, and this album is no exception, when it comes to Gone Are the Good Days, when it comes out, make sure you listen to it from top to bottom, the way that it is layered, the way that it is listed, the way that it was intended from Bert and the guys to be listened to, because you're going to end up really enjoying it a lot more than just picking out, okay, I'm going to listen to Bitter now, and I'm going to listen to Gone to the Good Days, I'm going to listen to Blame It On This Song because those were the singles. Already, I'm going to listen to Complete You, I'm going to listen to Tongue Tied, then listen to Marigold, and kind of go through it that way. No. Listen to it from top to bottom, the way it was intended, due to the fact that you're going to find some certain things in there. You're going to start to see some different connections to these songs that you really necessarily maybe wouldn't have made had you not done that. I mean, take a look at Bitter, the initial song off the record, the lead single. When you listen to it, it does have a little more of that lighter pop punk flavor to it as well, with a little bit of like this added heaviness. But then you go to that second verse and you go full unclean vocals. You bring in that whole metalcore trope as well, just for a part of it. It adds that whole entire feeling of, okay, like it feels like you guys have this mindset down, this creative idea down, but also feels like, especially after you guys took a break back in 2016. Now this is your first album since the break. It feels like just from that lead single, it's like, okay, Chunk No Captain Chunk is back, because there's so much going on in that song. And then you got your other singles out there, Gone Are the Good Days and Blame It On This Song. I will not lie, out of the three singles though, I don't know what it is, but Blame It On This Song is one of the most enjoyable songs I've listened to this entire year. Can put it on if I'm in a good mood, man, that just takes my mood to an even different height. It's so much fun to listen to, just to really enjoy and let that good mood become a great mood.
Right. And it's cool that you're picking up this one, because this one song, has been written like a long time ago. I mean, it's been written like in 2016, and we got I don't know. I saw some people saying, when we were, we were kind of like silent for, a couple of years. A lot of people were like starting to say, they will never come back just because they released that one song. Blame it on this song, because the lyrics goes, if I don't come back, blame it on this song. and like a lot of people kind of like were very, very we're sure, like convicted that we would never ever come back, because that song was the sign of something. But yeah, it's this one. We decided to have this one back on the record, just because I don't know. This even today, even if it's a very old song now, I don't know. I really enjoyed this one. Also, it reminds me all of those like days when we actually wrote the song. It was like right before Warped Tour 2016. And I don't know, there was like a lot going on, a lot of good stuff, a lot of not so good stuff. But yeah, this one kind of like, that's the one song that kind of like triggers nostalgia to me somehow. It is some sort of moody, but also very positive and very, upbeat. And yeah, actually, we should play this song live. It makes. I'm thinking out loud right now, but I think we should make this one as part of our set for sure.
All right, if I can add to that, honestly, because I think what I'm going to add to it might make you want to play that song live even more, is because you're talking about how this song brings up all these different nostalgia vibes, a lot for the positive as well. When I listened to it the first time, like there was a certain part of the sound that really made me kind of think back to, honestly, when I was 6 years old, going to the movie theater and seeing Shrek for the first time. Now, granted, I'm 6 years old. All that matters to me at this moment is just, what am I doing right now? I just want to be happy, have fun. I'm a happy-go-lucky kid at 6 years old. and nothing else matters except just me being myself and me being happy. Listening to Blame It on the Song took me back to like the emotion behind seeing Shrek for the first time and enjoying life as a 6-year-old with no responsibilities whatsoever. And it brought back so much positive nostalgia and positive just emotions behind it. So if you guys played this live, I got a feeling that a lot of people are really going to be able to just like pick up on it, get behind it, feel that nostalgia, feel of positivity from something else in their life that they kind of reconcile with it as, and just really let loose and enjoy it. I mean, one of the guys that I'm going to this rock music festival called Rockfest here in Wisconsin with, he's a big Chunk No Captain Chunk fan. And when I told him, like, I'm going to be there late, and he's like, why are you going to come late? I'm like, because I'm interviewing Bert from Chunk No Captain Chunk. He freaked the fuck out because he had not heard about you guys coming out with a new album. He's like, wait, they're back? They're back? I'm just like, yeah, I'll see you later after I'm done with the interview. And he's probably shitting his pants right now that we're recording this because he is so excited for this album to come out. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure he's heard Blame It on this song, and he got that nostalgia feel of listening to you guys when he was younger, like in middle school, high school, and just really enjoying life at that point.
That's awesome. That's way cool, actually. And it feels really good to see, that people are surprised, but like in a very good way to see us coming back. And, at first we were like we when we started talking about like writing a new album, we were like, oh, it's been a while. We didn't really know if we would come back and people were like waiting for us, if we would just have to release one song and be like, okay, we're back on track, because we've seen bands that have been like silent and have been kind of like on that kind of hiatus for a while, and when they come back, like nobody's waiting for them. And that was kind of like the risk we had to take. But just looking at the reactions when we released bitter, like just looking at the comments and everything, like instantly in like the first hour after we released the single, we're like, okay, all right, yeah, that feels good. Like that I don't know. I don't even know how to put words on this, but it felt like it. Well, first, it felt like we never left. A lot of people were like, oh, that was so worth the wait, or something like that, which was like the best comment for us ever. And also, yeah, just to see people excited about you, like your band releasing new music after 6 years of silence. I don't know. It's so like kind of like rewarding, and I'm very grateful for our fans for being the way they are, just because, yeah, they're amazing. They've been like sticking around. They've been supporting us, for a while now. And yeah, that's one of the reasons why I just can't wait to like go back on stage and like reconnect, because all those years, we've been back to normal life, and we've been doing our thing and blah blah blah. But yeah, I kind of miss the live experience. I kind of miss like going back on stage, like talking to the fans and having that connection with everyone. Just being back on track feels really good to us right now. And yeah, once COVID will be just like over, hopefully one day this will be officially over. Like we'll get on the first plane, get the first tour offer, even if it's like a crappy one, and we'll just like, yeah, we'll be there, and yeah, it just feels good. I honestly, sorry if I'm like lacking some words right now, but hopefully you'll get the idea. But yeah, that just feels good to be back, honestly.
Oh, I know when it comes to the lack of words, don't worry about that, because I totally understand the feel in a little bit of a different way, because of course with COVID, live shows were completely gone. And for us fans, live shows, we go to those to not only connect with the artists, connect with the bands that we love, but also to connect with everyone around us and enjoy the music. And it creates this incredible positive experience. We completely missed out on that in 2020, in the first half of 2021. It took me almost a year in like 4 or 5 months from when I was my last mosh pit to my first one back after the pandemic. I mean, the last big one I was in previously was in February of 2020 when I got to go see Falling in Reverse. I almost had my nose broken during Popular Monster. I'm like, this is awesome. I can't wait for this year to continue. After that, just nothing because COVID hit and it was just horrible. But then July 2021, I got to go see one of the bands on the podcast called Sleepwaker, and they were opening for this band called Victims, who's having their album release show. I was down in Chicago for it. Being in the mosh pit, taking that first hit, and like within the first 5 seconds, first hit, and then first punch to the face on accident, I have felt more alive than I had ever felt. I'm like, this is incredible. This is awesome. And it's fun to be back up there to reconnect everybody and have that positive experience. So when it comes to you guys wanting to be back up on stage, to provide that and connect with us from the stage, and we play your music so that we can connect with you at the same point, I totally understand that. I totally get the vibe. Not that, but when you guys did release Bitter to come back and people were like, oh my God, this was worth the wait. It's like you guys never left. People are still continuing to follow you. And there's a good amount of times where bands do end up taking that break and come back. And it's like sometimes people don't pay attention, but it's when people are paying attention still. That's when you know you guys really have a connection. Very similar to, a little bit different, but also similar in the same realm to last year in 2020, back in April, when all of a sudden the Ghost Inside released their first new track following their horrific bus crash, and everyone just was absolutely stunned. Not only was it worth the wait, but these guys came back stronger than ever after something that potentially could have ripped apart the band completely due to unforeseen circumstances. But it was something where everyone just connected with it because there was so much power behind the song. There was so much emotion behind the song that people could really get behind given the story. With you guys, with Bitter though, coming back, it's like, okay, now we're getting the Chunk, no Captain Chunk sound back once again. We're getting some of that pop punk sound. We're getting some of that more metalcore style. We're getting the blending of genres within the same song consistently. It is like they never left, and this has totally been worth the wait. So I can easily see where all of a sudden it's just, you guys were nervous going into it, but then an hour after you release the song, seeing all the comments flood in and just positivity from the fans, it feels a little bit vindicated in a way that coming back and doing things on your terms was easily the way to go.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. And somehow, honestly, it's even something like right now when I think about it, I cannot even explain it exactly. I cannot explain exactly what happened, but like I remember last year around like April 2020, I think our label kind of like organized like an online event that was called like Fearless at Home or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's, I think it was in there was like a collab with Alternative Press or something. And they wanted me to actually talk about us writing the new album. They wanted me to tease some, like the thing that was happening, like in reality, that was not even lying. But so yeah, the label told me, oh yeah, you're gonna talk about that for like 5 minutes or something. I was like, okay, well, and at first I was like, okay, that's gonna be odd. Like we've been away for a while and nobody's, I was not even announced on that online event. But like as soon as I started talking about, a new album, like I saw like all the comments popping and I was like, blah, 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 like, and it was like, wow, that's cool. People are actually excited about this. And after the event, I read all the comments also on the YouTube video that was posted like just right after, and I felt like we were like, people were waiting for us, and they were waiting for that new album, but they were also waiting for that kind of music to come back for some reason. And we talked a little bit about that like earlier, but I feel like that kind of like positive energy, because that's kind of like the how you can describe our band, like the positive energy, just like being happy but like very angry at the same time somehow makes a lot of sense right now after COVID, and somehow when I look back and when I think of like 2010, 2011, when we actually barely started, like, and again, we talked a little bit about this already, but that kind of music was not so accepted But now I feel like, yeah, a lot of people are just like waiting for this. They're waiting for that kind of music to be released. Um, just because I feel like a lot of people want positivity right now. They wanna, they wanna see hope. They wanna see a brighter future, and they don't. I mean, there's always gonna be like metal and metalcore fans who want like that angry stuff, like talking about angry things, and yeah. But us, it's talking about like positivity, positive things, but also with that like, yeah, angriness. And yeah, somehow it makes a lot of sense to a lot of people right now. But it was very interesting to see. That's my point. Because for us, it's new. It's new, and we feel even more at home right now, releasing new stuff, because we know that people are reacting exactly the way we wanted them to react, and to receive the new songs. So yeah, again, it feels good. Like I said earlier, it feels good. And it's especially right now when, like, we, like you said, there hasn't been like shows for a year and a half. I feel like also the fact that Warped Tour is has disappeared does not help. I feel like all the main like medias, like Alternative Press, Rock Sound, and carrying, like, they're trying to keep up, but it's not so easy with like nothing happening. It's barely coming back, and I'm very, very glad to see that everybody's like getting back on track slowly. But uh, yeah, it will take time for this whole scene to actually come back, and exactly the way it was. And again, without a Warped Tour, this will be hard to, I don't know. I feel like the music, that kind of music, will be hard to be exactly the same, exactly the way it was back in like 10 days ago or something, like 10 years ago. But yeah, I feel like it's slowly getting back on track, and no matter what, we'll be there with whatever happens. But yeah.
Yeah, please be there whatever happens. Well, because again, without Warp Tour, especially when it comes to emo music, pop punk, like a lot of alternative rock, some metalcore, like some of the more or hardcore stuff as well. Without Warp Tour being that like specific thing, and it was something that would like travel around the United States for like a month and a half, being a new city every single day, with so many bands playing, it's like you just had to wait till it came to your area and you could see all these different bands and really get into the whole entire thing. Now with Warped Tour gone, we have to depend upon other festivals as well. We have to, especially here in the US, we have to depend on the Danny Wimmer Presents festivals like Louder Than Life, Incarceration, Welcome to Rockville, Aftershock. Or we have to depend on some other ones as well, like Rockfest, which is one I'm going to, Blue Ridge, which is becoming massive, especially after what's looking like this year. And I'm going to be at that one as well, and I can't wait for it. But the one thing I consistently see is, like, I'll use the Danny Wimmer Presents ones as well. You take a look at the bands that are headlining, and you're seeing a lot of, I'm just going to say, a lot of legacy bands, a lot of bands that have been around for 20 plus years that you know exactly what you're going to get from them. You're seeing Metallica headline 2 nights in those Danny Wimmer Presents festivals. You're seeing Mudvayne headline. Yes, Mudvayne's back with Chad Gray. It's cool, don't get me wrong. But then also you're seeing like Slipknot headline. Again, I totally understand with how big they are. But the thing is you're seeing all these other bands that are really, when it comes to pop punk, emo, alternative rock, metalcore, hardcore, they're further down the bill, and they're just not getting necessarily that press that they were getting on Warped Tour. And it's just not only that, but when it comes to popular culture as well, again, you take a look when Warped Tour was basically at its peak, like think look, 2007, 2008, 2009, pop punk was a gigantic thing. It still was a gigantic thing at that point. All of a sudden, right when Warped Tour ended, pop culture was, especially here in America, was focused on what was going on in pop music, hip hop, and rap. Depending upon where you were especially in the United States, pop country as well. So when it came to anything rock and metal, a lot of the subgenres, they were kind of relegated to the back. Even I know some people might get on my case for this, but when MGK came out with this pop punk album last year, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan, but I wasn't going to bash it because, Hell, my little cousin was getting into pop punk music. He was starting to check out all these different bands that I liked. I'm not, because he started listening to MGK's pop punk album. Am I gonna stop him from doing that? Hell no. If all of a sudden we're driving somewhere and he's telling me that he wanted to listen to his band called We Were Sharks, I'm like, wait, I know who they are. Hell yeah, let's go do it. And we're like, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna let this roll, just keep this going, and I'm totally fine with it. Hell, even one day when we were fishing, when we were up north, he asked me to put on Falling in Reverse while we were fishing. I looked at him, I'm just like, dude, right on. So it's definitely something where in pop culture, like the kind of music that we are talking about that we really like to listen to isn't as prevalent as it once was. But with live shows coming back now after the pandemic, so many different bands that are releasing new music, there's got to be a way where we can get those bands back in the forefront. With you, with No Chunk, No Captain Chunk, the positivity and the emotions of positivity and positiveness, whatever you want to call it, behind your music is something that people can really get behind as well. And I love what you said, like both happy and angry at the same time, because I kept thinking of a little clip from The Simpsons where Ralph Wiggum was having a sugar rush and he's jumping up and down. He's like, I'm happy and angry. Like, that's basically me in the pit. I'm like, I'm happy as all hell. I'm angry as all hell. I'm just in a state of awesomeness because I'm happy to be here, but I'm angry enough to basically try and knock some people over. But if I knock you down, you better believe I'm going to pick your ass right back up.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, you talked about Warped Tour, and again, I feel like we did it 3 times. We've been lucky enough to do it like 3 times, and that tour was so unique. Like, this is the tour that actually that make that whole scene live, basically, and yeah, obviously it's cool to see that all those like independent like festivals in, you know, all over the United States. I think it's pretty cool. The problem is that, yeah, like you said, everybody will have his own lineup, and when you want to, you know, when you're like a small touring band, like not even small, like average, or like us, you don't have the budget to go like to play that one show in New York City, and you know, the next like 3 days after like playing LA, with nothing in between. That you need to plan that kind of festivals like globally, and without that, like, it's not even possible to make that happen. And that's where Warped Tour is so unique, and that's such like a challenging thing to make it happen. It's because, you know, that's the organization behind that is huge. Like, it's huge, and without that whole like plan, that whole administration, that whole organization, that whole staff behind it, like, you cannot even like make like a quarter of this. It's not like, it's, I don't know, just looking back, I'm like how is that even possible? How was that even possible to make such a great tour, because it's between 50 and 60 shows all across the US. When you think about it, it's, I don't know, it's unbelievable with like, yeah, let's say like 60 shows with at least 50 bands. And I remember we did some Warped Tours in 2012, I think. There was like almost like 100 bands, which was insane. Actually, speaking of MGK, actually we were on Warped Tour with him. I think it was in 2014, and it was great. And it's great to see him coming back with like a pop punk thing, just because you know, we were on the same tour, and now it's huge. And honestly, like, just talking about speaking about the how the scene kind of like evolves, I totally, you know, I'm totally supporting that kind of evolution, just because it makes sense. It makes sense right now with like what's trending and all of that. I feel like a lot of people who grew up as, you know, scene kids kind of like switched to like urban music, like rap, trap, and all of that, and that's perfectly fine. And it's perfectly fine, just because, you know, the scene does not have like much to offer right now, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate. But I totally you know, support how, you know, if we got a blend, if we got a blend pop punk, with trap, with rap, with hip hop, whatever, if it works. And I honestly think that his album is just awesome. I'm a really big fan. But if, tomorrow, like, the new trend will be, to make, I don't know, I'll say whatever, like metal with like, techno. I mean, no, it's already been done. Yeah, whatever kind of combination that works and that makes the scene kind of live. It's cool. Like, I'm not a purist or whatever, of whatever kind of music. And I feel like everything that's new, that sounds fresh, is good. Yeah, that's it. And it's been one of, like, our main concern while we were writing the new album, is like coming up with something fresh, because I feel like that's what the scene needs right now. And what's actually been kind of like challenging for us writing this album is kind of like finding the perfect balance between something new, something fresh, with like being still, doing our thing, like having that chunk sound in all of our songs. And yeah, I think, after our fourth album, and especially in the kind of music, in that niche genre we're like doing, we're playing, it's very challenging to come up with something new. But when you're an artist, and when you have like some sense of creativity with your own music, you need to think forward. You need to think of like, people are expecting this, but I want to take them there, and that's very challenging. That's very challenging as an artist, especially when you're like in that specific type of music as us. But yeah, and that's where I'm very, very proud and very glad of this record, just because I feel like all of the songs are doing that perfect balance between something new and something that, that will be somehow kind of like expected by even by our like diehard fans. So I'm very glad.
Well, when it comes to that, one thing I always looked at when bands really like to experiment is what keeps you special still at the core of your music? Because you can go off and do all these different things, but is there something that still keeps you special that's at the core of it, that is at every single song? Listening through Gone Are the Good Days, you can easily tell that this is a chunk record. You can feel it in the music. You can really hear it through your vocals. You can really feel it through how your vocals and the guitars really interact. But there is so much more going on here where you're going to get something fresh. And I do agree with you that when it comes to the scene, whatever it might be, there are things that are needed to really keep things fresh, because yeah, we all like, the stuff that, I'll use pop punk as an example for this one. Take a look at All Time Low. They've been consistently good ever since they came out. They've been consistently good in that pop punk realm. And you take a look at today, it's kind of like they're like a kind of like a baseline for what you like in terms of sound, what you kind of want to go for. But if we keep getting so many different bands that are going to be the exact same way as that, are we going to want to keep listening to all those bands? No, because everyone's going to sound the same. So always got to try something new, because you never know what's going to hit. I'll use metalcore as an example as well. Would I want consistently, generic metalcore? Not really, just because I'd be getting the same thing over and over and over again. Hell, my two favorite metalcore bands, one is Motionless in White, and it's all gothic metalcore with all these different gothic tones behind it. The other one kind of is a similar trope, but a little bit different, with Ice Nine Kills, when you have all the horror-based stuff behind it. I mean, hell, even listening to their brand new single, Hip to Be Scared, I was a little nervous when it came out, because I'm like, they're doing another kind of thing with the Silver Scream. They're doing it again. It know it worked well last time, but we'll see what happens this time around. All of a sudden, they get to the bridge of it, and they do a whole Huey Lewis in the New style bridge, because it's based on American Psycho, and then they go into this brutal breakdown after. I'm like, I have no clue what the fuck I just heard, but that was awesome. So it's getting something like that. But the other issue with that comes is, how do people that used to be those like big scene kids, or kids today that are wanting to go and potentially check something like this out, how are they going to find this, and are they going to be able to get into this? Because we don't have Warped Tour anymore, which is, a yearly summer thing where we're getting 50 or 60 cities that are going to have 50 bands show up and play. And now you're going to get to see bands that you really like to see that are probably headlining, but you're going to want to be there all day because you know the style of music that's going to be played at that festival. And you want to check out so many other bands that are going to be on that bill. And of course, now we have streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music, where people can put all of their music and we can find out about it and check it out in an easier way. but there's so much there that it comes to having trouble to sift through all the noise. Plus with streaming, I got a whole problem with streaming as well, because I think people listen to the first 10 seconds of songs. It's like, if it doesn't hit right in the first 10 seconds, I don't want to listen to this band anymore. No. Listen to the whole thing, because otherwise, for me, that's how I got into metalcore, honestly. If I didn't listen to the second song from Motionless in White, I never would have gotten like fully into them as much as I am now. So there's got to be some sort of a way where we can kind of get that Warped Tour feel back, where people can go check out all these different bands openly and really feel it without having to just be like, oh, I don't want to go there. Or I don't like online. It's like, 10 seconds. I want to go to something else that I know that's more familiar. No, it's like, when it comes to Warped Tour, why do you think so many people still talk about it? Why so many people still yearn for it? Because it was something that meant so much to the scene. And now that we have different festivals, but because I still think that with the fact that they're banking on those legacy bands to bring people in, it's definitely hindering the growth of bands that are coming back. That are those, if you look at those festival lineups, that are not the headliners, that are those middle tier bands that have a really decent following that people still love. But because for myself, even if there's not a band that I specifically would want to see, it's like, there's times like a festival, would I want to spend all that money? Sometimes it's like, I use the Danny Wimmer's Presents ones. With Metallica, I'm not that big into Metallica. I respect them. It's just not necessarily my thing. Would I want to spend so much money to go to a festival for one day because Metallica was headlining?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years ago, I went to Riot Fest in Chicago because I wanted to go see Rise Against so bad for like the 9th time. But Slayer was headlining. It was one of their last shows. I'm like, okay, I totally understand that. I want to go see that. But I looked at the rest of the bill and I was like, I really don't want to go see anybody else because I'm so stuck on this. With Warped Tour, it's kind of like with Blue Ridge this year as well. I have the problem of excess, where it's like, okay, I don't know what bands are playing at what time. I'm going to have to make some choices here. And it could be somewhere I'm like, okay, I've seen this band 3 times before. I've never seen this band before. Do I want to go see this band for the 4th time, even though I know exactly what I'm going to get? I'm going to love it. Or do I want to go check this out? There's probably going to be me going, I'm going to go over here and see what's going on over here. And I can become a huge fan of a band off of that. You never know.
Yeah. And that's where Warped Tour was so special and was so unique and will be greatly missed. It's because, that will, like I said, that would make that whole scene live for 1 year just with one summer, the I don't know, like, just me, like, looking back at even our first Warped Tours, like, we gained so much fans, like so many fans after every Warped Tour. Like, I remember, Instagram was not so big like in 2012, but it was still, it was growing up. But I remember I created my first Instagram like just right before Warped Tour 2012, and just playing Warped Tour, I started with like, I remember, I don't know, like in, let's say, September 2012, I gained in one summer something around like, I don't know, I can't remember, but like maybe 10K, 10K of new followers, just for playing one tour. And it's insane. And you would get like, also, what's really cool for a band playing Warped Tour is that you get to meet your fans in every city. And this is very, very cool because having that kind of like personal connection with your fans and like in all of those different places in the United States is something that a lot of people appreciate. And even nowadays, like, I get like tagged in all of those pictures I took with fans at Warped Tour from like 2012, 14, 16, and it's always me, the same pose at the tent, but it feels good. And we're talking about nostalgia. That's exactly what nostalgia feels like to me. It's just looking back at those pictures with like those happy kids that had like the time of their lives. And I honestly, it's a shame that Warped Tour is over. Not over, but like definitely over. I don't know. I don't know. There should be a solution. There should be like a global solution to make it come back. Not necessarily come back like exactly the way it was, but like maybe in a new way. Maybe like blend some sort of like rap trap artists in the lineup, whatever. Just yeah, it has to come back. It has to come back, and I think as soon as it comes back, I'm pretty sure will like the scene will be back as well. And yeah, if Warped Tour comes back, there's also other festivals that will come back, like even in Europe, even in Asia or whatever. It's not like Warped Tour has that kind of like impact on the entire scene, the live, but also the bands, the creativity that that's yeah, that's on the market for those bands. But yeah, I don't know. I miss Warped Tour. That's the
While
only
you were
thing.
describing that, I just came up with an idea because you're talking about how can we get like a festival come back like that's not just like what Warped Tour was, but like evolve it to also add potentially some more hip hop styles, maybe more of that trap style as well. And I'm thinking, has there been anything that has incorporated both of those on like the same set or on the same soundtrack or something like that that has absolutely worked out? And I actually thought of one that has the Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack. If you
Oh
listen
yeah,
to it,
all
there's a
right.
lot of pop punk, there's a lot of punk rock, there's some metal, there's some metalcore, there's some rap, hip hop, trap, there's all of that around there. So it does have a thing behind it, and also that you can add the whole entire skate culture to it as well. I mean, when it came to Warped Tour, skate culture was all the rage with it as well. Vans it was sponsored by Vans, for God's sake, and that was
Oh.
like the skate shoe back in the day. So there's so much that could be done around that. It just depends on if we're going to be able to do it and who'd want to take the reins on something like that. Would I love to take the reins on something like that? Absolutely. I need a lot more money though, but I would love to give that a shot.
But also, I mean, I understand the commercial aspect of it, like, and I remember that. I mean, I don't want to say any mistake, but in 2016, I mean, the lineup was amazing, but maybe it was just a bad choice of like us being in like we could have been maybe like the routing could have been maybe better or something, but you could tell in some cities that sometimes the show was not that good, like they would not pull a lot of people. So I understand the commercial aspect of it, and I understand that it's a risky business. I mean, the live music production is a risky business in general, but I don't know. I feel like if you add up everything that's behind it, like all the music industry that's behind it, it has such a huge impact. So I don't know. I don't know. It can be Kevin Lyman, it can be someone else, but there has to be someone uh, that could do something. That yeah, we need help. I mean, after COVID, obviously, because right now, if it would come back like this year in 2021, obviously that would not be in the best environment and the best conditions. But yeah, maybe 2022, 2023, whatever. If it has to come back.
I think in the US, so a lot of it's going to depend upon the success of the Blue Ridge Rock Festival, because looking at the headliners that they have on that one, they've got a lot of different headliners, but a lot of them are bands that are from around that area. I mean, on like Thursday, they have as a headliner Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember. The Ghost Inside they're having as a headliner because it's like one of their first shows ever since that, like their third or fourth show since the bus crash. So it's like, okay, we want to have them on there. On Friday, it's like, okay, you have Rise Against as one of the headliners, which of course, I'm not gonna miss that. I have to go to that. You also have like, Shine Downs in there, Hailstorms in there. You get some Five Finger Death Punch as well. So you do have some like a little bit of older bands, but you don't have bands that were like basically their heyday was like the mid 90s. You're having
Yeah.
bands whose heyday was in the time of Warped Tour in a sense. So I think it's like if we take a look and see how that festival turns out to be a success, then something like Warped Tour could be viable. Plus, I still remember going to shows back in 2019 here in Milwaukee, and it was typically the rock and metal shows that had all the sellouts, that were having the biggest, the craziest, and the most energetic crowds. I still remember this was back in November of 2019. They had a pop artist in the bigger spot in the ballroom up top. Then they had an alternative rock artist in the middle rung. In the basement, it was Light the Torch, Fit for a King, and Ice Nine Kills. The only reason that we couldn't move up from the basement to a different level was because they were already booked and they already sold tickets there. But those tickets for that show sold out maybe in an hour. And I was able to get one. So I was like, hell yeah, let's go. It was just nuts seeing, and then not only that, but seeing all the people come in. We were the first ones in, and we were the last to leave. We had the show time that started the earliest, and we had the show that got out last, and everyone loved it. So I'm just thinking, my God, this is something that has to come back. Like there's definitely life there. It doesn't seem like there's life there because when you take a look at what pop culture is looking at, again, I'm using the United States as the primary example. Pop, hip hop, and rap, some popular country as well. You're not really seeing that rock and metal really take flight. When people think of rock bands that are in popular culture and really ingratiating that, they're thinking like Imagine Dragons and Maroon 5. They're not thinking bands like, they're not thinking metalcore bands. They're not thinking Chunk, No Captain Chunk. They're not thinking bands like those. They're thinking like bands that are, you're going to hear on like popular radio stations. You're not thinking about bands that you're going to hear on Octane.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, by the way, yeah. So you're from Milwaukee?
Yes.
That's it, right? And that's where there's like the haunted venue, right?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, that's this one. Yeah, okay. Oh, that's such a special venue. Like, I don't know. Like, I think we played there. Like, we played there with I didn't remember. In 2013. We also, I don't know. We played it a couple times, but I remember like, I don't know which tour was that, but I think there was like some sort of a group of like different band members from different bands. Actually, we were like who went like in the basement or something that where the kind of like there was a whole story that I don't remember, but like that was creepy. And I think we started to make like a tour video of like us doing like with a lamp, exactly like in the Goonies. It was kind of like this. But yeah, anyways, yes, and speaking of Milwaukee, Milwaukee Warped Tour is always amazing. It's always been amazing. I think when you type like Chunk No Cat and Chunk live, the first video that comes up is actually from Warped Tour Milwaukee, and there's like that's where we had like the panda suits going on stage and all of that. And that show was so special. Like it was the last of the day. We were kind of like closing up Warped Tour. We were like the last of the day. And
oh my God, I see it. I totally see it right now. I just looked up on YouTube from July 30th, 2014. So that video was literally 7 years prior to the release of Gone Are the Good Days. Literally 7 years prior.
Yeah, and honestly, there's like one thing that I can think of just thinking of like, oh, Gone Are the Good Days. What am I gonna think of? I'm not gonna think of this one live show. That was, I don't know, there was something very special about that show. That was amazing, and it's just great memories for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So when you guys are able to come back over to us, please come back to Milwaukee, because you know the crowd here. We love live music. We love going absolutely nuts for it. We love creating those crazy mosh pits. We love just enjoying life. And hell, we get a lot of people from Chicago to come up as well, because it's an hour and a half away. And hell, I always have a lot of fun with everyone from Chicago, even when I go down there for shows as well. So you'll get that crazy crowd once again. And when you guys talk about doing like the whole entire flashlights at the Rave, which is the venue here in Milwaukee that's haunted, over Halloween in 2020, for the venue to try and make money, they turned down all the lights. If you paid like $40, you could go in with a flashlight and just explore. So
really?
So this girl I was hanging out at the time, I was like, you want to do this? Because I'm totally into this, and I want to do this. She was into it, so we started walking through, and everyone's like kind of looking through like creepy. There's me looking to try and find certain things like, oh, I'm at the ballroom floor. Is this where I split my head open? This is where I spilt blood? I don't remember. Oh, I remember when I was here and this happened. And they're like, we had one person with us that was kind of like talking about, okay, this is what happened at the venue. Like, this is why it's haunted. Then they started talking about the haunted pool, and I'm like, I have to find this pool. This is my one thing. I have to find the pool. I end up going to the basement stage. Now I know where it is. If you go to the basement stage, if you walk behind the stage and down some stairs, there's a door at the end of the hallway. You open up, and that's when you get to the pool. And they had a little thing where if you got to the pool, they had the bottom of the pool covered in like with a smoke machine, and they had a red balloon tied to the drain grate, so it looked like Pennywise there. I'm like, oh, this is freaking awesome. And they're telling us about the kid that drowned there back like 50, 60 years ago. People are still kind of getting a little freaked out that followed me there. There's me with a flashlight looking at all the signatures on the wall. I'm like, was I at that show? Was I at that show? Was I at that show? And then I was trying to find one. I'm like, I got to take a picture next to one. The girl that I was with, she said, we got to this balcony. She's like, Kevin, I found the one you have to take a picture with. What? I turned around, big giant Ice 9 Kill signature. And I was wearing an Ice 9 Kill shirt because it's the day of prom. I'm like, this doesn't take a genius. Take a picture.
There you go. That's cool. I didn't know they were like doing this. That's cool. That's a pretty cool thing to do. But like, so was there like some sort of like, I don't know, activities? Was it like going to like an amusement park or something like that?
No, it's literally just go into the venue. They give you a flashlight and they basically let you explore. You start at the top, you go to the bottom. They didn't let anyone under 21 in because you're able to drink during the whole entire time as well. So I'm like, yay! So it's like, okay, here, I'm going to grab a beer here, just keep enjoying myself. And it was just something where it was just cool to be back at a live music venue back during the pandemic. And I still have yet to return to that venue because their first shows were happening in the middle of July of 2021. And the tickets I first had to go back to the venue were for Deftones and Gojira, which I was super excited about because I bought those tickets for 2020. Then they pushed the tour back to 2022. So I'm like,
oh yeah, I saw that.
So now the first time I get to go back to the rave as it stands right now would be September 18th when Shinedown is headlining. So I'm like, that's gonna be just like a whole different like nostalgia trip show for me because I get to see Shinedown, not that, but I get to be back at this venue. And if I split my head open and start bleeding everywhere, I'm gonna be happy as all hell. Unless if it's like, horrible and I can't really see straight anymore. That'd be bad.
Sure. But yeah, that's a great venue. And that's, besides the haunting thing apart, like it's I don't know, we've always played great shows in front of great crowds, and yeah, I don't for some reason I don't remember the backstage area here, but yeah, great shows. And I think one of the best we did was with I don't remember, I remember it was the last show of the tour, so they kind of like, and not the last show of the tour, but the last show of our part of the tour, because we were just like doing half of it, and then Issues was doing the other half. But yeah, it was great. It was just thinking about this, just like when you've toured in so many countries, in so many cities, in so many venues, like you get that one little detail that you will remember, and that will like trigger an entire memory of like the show, the day, what happened, like the party afterwards, or like all those things, and that specific venue kind of like triggers a lot of those like very specific memories. Yeah, I just can't wait to be back on track and like play and do all of those crazy things, and hopefully next time I will experience the whole like haunted house thing, because last time I was kind of like not too scared, but I'll let the other guys go. But yeah, it was really cool.
Just make sure next time you come back, you sign the pool. Just sign the pool. That's all. That's one thing.
I didn't know there were signatures there, but yeah, I mean, Ice 9 Kills make a lot of sense in that environment for sure. But yeah, sure, we'll do.
And the Ice 9 Kill signature is huge. I think the only bigger signature on there, and this is for all the hip hop fans out there and rap fans, the only bigger signature than Ice 9 Kills in there was a big giant circle that literally said Mac Miller is dead. He wrote it at his last show. Like, he wrote it.
What?
Yeah.
Really? What the fuck? Really?
Yeah, I'm being dead serious. He wrote Mac Miller is dead on one of the walls in the like where the pool is, in a huge like it was huge, circled it and everything, and that was his last show that he played at the rave back in 2016, and then he died the next year.
He died next year. Yeah. Wow. That's an an interesting story. But yeah, well, that's a part of history. Then that's cool.
That just kind of adds a little bit more of the haunting vibes of the pool as well. When it's like, oh my god, who wrote that? He wrote that. Wait, what? It kind of adds to the whole entire mystique of it as well. But I mean, if I'll put it this way, when you guys get a chance to come over and tour this album, tour over in the US, hopefully, with the way the pandemic's going, hopefully it's 2022, because shows are coming back over here. I'm starting to see some bands start to travel over here as well. I don't know what's going on for you guys. I'm just going to play it cautiously. Hopefully 2022. Please, 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 please. come back to Milwaukee. Come and play at the rave, because we will go absolutely apeshit crazy in the crowd. And yes, you will definitely see me in that crowd. Probably with a bunch of other people as well that I know that are like, holy shit, I want to go to this show. Yep, come on, let's go.
But I really hope so, and I really hope this will. It's weird for us to release an album without like a whole like year of touring afterwards, because that's what we were used to before COVID and with our previous albums. But yeah, definitely, and I know that especially that part of America, like the whole area was like Chicago, Milwaukee. But there's also the other part with like Indianapolis, Detroit, and all that. Like I don't know how you call that zone here, that part of America. But
we call it the Midwest.
The Midwest, yeah. Here you go, Midwest. Thank you. Yeah, that area has always been huge for us. Maybe our best market in the entire United States, like better than like the East Coast and the West Coast. But I don't know why. I cannot explain why specifically this area has always been great for us. But I mean, you guys are great people, great crowd, great energy for sure. But yeah, there's also there's always been something special. And I remember us being on the road, like being on those like very long tours and just waiting for those shows, just because we would know instantly that that's going to be amazing, so we're just like excited. And I think that's where our booking agent is like really smart, is he made sure that all those shows happen like on Friday nights, Saturday nights, just to make sure that this would pull a lot of people as much as possible. But I mean, there's I'm not talking about those areas as like markets, because all like the entire United States has always been amazing. There's been like obviously some areas was like not as where we don't have like as many fans as others, obviously, but yeah, just like Midwest is always been something for sure.
I'll say, don't worry about like if you think like, oh, talking about the other areas. Well, like when it comes to us, the Midwest is typically like the hotbed for rock, metal, any of the subgenres, anything alternative around that as well. Just because I don't know what it is as well. I've tried to explain it before, but I really am not sure the full answer. I think it has something to do with just the weather and the type of culture that's around that specific part of the country, where rock and metal just really have more of a connectiveness to it. Of course, there are other places around the country as well that do have some sort of that connectedness as well, but it's just in a smaller area and a smaller group of people. Like, we have the Midwest, which is probably the biggest spot for it. You do have spots in the Northeast part of the United States, like especially like Massachusetts, Boston area, that really kind of hang on to that as well. You go south into Florida, where Florida's its own animal, honestly. Because you get bands like A Day to Remember, Under Oath, I think Trivium as well are from there. Like, you get all these different bands that have it. Texas is its own animal as well, and then some spots in California. But really, when it comes to like the largest concentration of people in the country that are really into rock and metal, you're typically going to get that in the Midwestern part of the United States.
I agree. I totally agree. And it's and back on Warped Tour, but like I remember that Warped Tour on those dates were always the best. And the video I showed you earlier with like with the 2014 Warped Tour in Milwaukee was just, I don't know, it was just amazing. It was just like, you can tell that like everybody you can pause that video at like every second, and I remember that, and you can see it and you can watch it on the video that we were playing a small stage of like the smallest. We were playing the Ernie Ball stage. They brought security for the security, which was I don't know, insane.
Now, bringing security for the security.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. When I looked just at the thumbnail of that video, because I know where Warped Tour was held. I know the area incredibly well. I know exactly what stage you guys were on, because it's at the Summerfest grounds here. When we have Summerfest here and we got multiple stages, it's always there. But we had Summerfest back in 2019. That exact same thing happened, where the security needed backup security for us, was when August Burns Red was playing, because we said, screw this. There's a bunch of benches here. People want to mosh, and it is too dangerous with all these benches here. So we just picked him up and stuck him on the side. We had people holding him, and all of a sudden, here comes security trying to push him down. We had so many people holding up. They need to bring in so much other security to try and get these benches back down because, of course, insurance liability reasons.
Sure.
But we were trying to make it safer for everybody because, honestly, people trying to mosh in between like these little like corners of the bench, like little like space between the benches. I was getting knocked down off them, and I almost probably ripped up my knee 6 or 7 times because I'm getting knocked down, my foot's caught, and my knee is twisting one way. I thought I was going to end up in the hospital that night with a knee injury, but once we picked up those benches, I'm like, oh, this is going to be great. Then here comes security, and I think we fought him for like 6 minutes before like, yeah, this ain't worth it.
Oh, wow.
It was like a flood of security just kept coming. It was like one after another, just here they come consistently. And we basically looked and said, you guys did not plan for this, right? You guys did not plan for this at all. But we tried to make it as best as possible. And now I'm pretty sure if August Burns Red comes back to Milwaukee, they'll definitely play at the rave where they hand out the little cards that say, no moshing, no crowd surfing, no crowd killing. And they only do that for insurance purposes. They know everyone else is going to do it.
Sure, of course. I mean, and I remember it was a thing also on World Tour 2016. Like there was like some big signs saying, "Oh you start moshing, you're out" or something like that. But and I understand that, like and unfortunately, we saw some kids like getting very, very injured. Not at our shows because I don't know, but. I remember watching Chelsea Grin playing on the World Tour 2012, I think, and I don't know what happened. I think some girl kind of like started to pass out, and yeah, I don't know what happened. Like, but I saw why, that kind of thing can be very, very dangerous. And I think they kind of like stopped the whole festival for like an hour or something like that for just to clear the mess. But yeah, it even like 2016 World Tour where they kind of like, they were very, very cautious about that kind of things. People are here to have a good time and just, hearing your story saying, and obviously I feel like you're getting always injured. But that's cool. I remember World Tour 2014 where we were like at the merch table and, we were going through the line and some kid arrived, like run at our table and it was like, dude, I had the time of my life. I cannot thank you enough. And I was like, yeah, man, that's cool. And thank you for the memory. And I was like, what memory? And he showed me like his thumb, and his thumb was basically like this, like 90 degree, like out. I was like, oh, sorry, dude. Sorry for the memory. But yeah, that kind of story. But I understand also the fact that we want this to be a safe place for everyone, and we don't want anyone to be like that injured, not going to the hospital or anything. But that's also how you create memories, is like taking that kind of risk to have that energy going, and that's something we've always tried to make happen at our shows. Like we always want to have that sort of climax in our set where like the entire crowd kind of like go fucking nuts, and yeah, sometimes shit happens. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sometimes shit happens. I mean, I know I talk about like how it seems like I get hurt. It's either I almost get hurt or I do get hurt. But it's those times when I do get hurt or like really almost get hurt. Those are the times I remember the most because it's just like, holy crap, I can't believe that happened. However, as like 2019, early 2020, when I was in those mosh pits, it felt like we finally were starting to really get to that point where you knew the people that were going to be in there. You knew the type of people that were going to be in there. And for the people that were around there, that's like, okay, they want to get in there. They stood on the edge. They were pushing people back into the pit. So everyone was still having fun. So people, like, if there were women that didn't want to jump in or guys that didn't want to jump in, you could easily do that. But then the rule of if you get knocked down, you pick them back up. It's gotten to the point where it's not just one person picking someone back up. It's like 5 or 6 people picking someone back up. And I've even seen shows where all of a sudden, like, it was been super hot outside. This one I saw Rise Against at Riot Fest. People were passing out because of the heat. And you couldn't get security or you couldn't get like medical help into the crowd because of how packed in everybody was.
Right.
So you want to know what we did? How do we get these people out of there? All right, let's pick them up. Let's crowd serve them to the front because then they can get the attention they need. And you started seeing people like that were passing, like, okay, hold them up. Here we go. We'll start taking them to the front. Within maybe 15 seconds, they went from being complete and utter danger to now being out of the crowd and in the hands of security personnel that could get them the medical attention they needed. So there's definitely now an evolving mindset to the point where I think it definitely is possible to the point where we can bring back something like Warped Tour and have moshing be a full-on effective thing, and people really fully understand the unwritten rules of don't go and completely crowd kill somebody, don't go like have a vendetta against somebody. If you find someone knocked down, pick their ass back up. If they're having trouble or if they're hurt, find a way to get them out of there. Like, I've seen people get hurt in the pit, and all of a sudden there's a group of like 10 or 12 guys that literally form a circle around them to see if they're okay, if they can get up, and what they need to help them to get out of that area.
Right.
Like, it's definitely a mindset now, and I absolutely love it. So hopefully we can sort of bring back Warped Tour with that in a way and continue to add on to it so that the scene can once again go from what it is now to what it like have the prominence and have the impact that it did back in, let's say, 2005, 2006.
Right. Oh yeah, I totally agree with that. And actually, yeah, what you said was actually very true. Like, there was a lot of problems due to people being dehydrated, and I could tell from like, especially the last World Tour. I don't know if it's like global warming or anything, but I can tell like I saw Warped Tour getting hotter and hotter, and I remember in 2014 or something, like they had like a whole system where like to make sure like to keep everyone hydrated. But yeah. Like you said, that's the kind of mindset. That's kind of like the kind of rules that was so cool about Warped Tour. I mean, we can talk about Warped Tour, but also about like all those, festivals or shows in that scene. Like we were like family.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like everybody was kind of like in that mindset. We're like all in this together somehow. Yeah, again, I don't want to keep saying the same thing, but yeah, Warped Tour needs to be that.
I think the best way to summarize it is we want the scene to come back to its prominence because we want this family to be whole again. We want this rock and roll family to be whole again, to the point where everyone can go to these shows, find out about so many new bands, enjoy the bands that they love once again, and just enjoy life to the fullest. I think that's the best way to put it. And again, relating it back to Gone Are the Good Days with the sound you guys create on that, the positive vibes behind it. It's a great way to bring people not only back in that positive mindset, but also into the enjoyment that the scene provides. Sure.
And, this album has also been written like with, the live performance in mind. And, we know the kind of like reaction we want to trigger playing those new songs. And yeah, I just can't wait. I don't know when this is going to be. I don't have I'm not sure about the future, but like the only thing I'm sure of, I said it already, but like, is like as soon as it comes back, as soon as the entire music industry is coming back, especially in that scene, we will be there. We'll be on stage playing those new songs for you guys, and yeah, I'm just stoked.
Oh, I can't wait to hear these new songs, and I'm just gonna tease this one a little bit. When the album comes out, run through the whole entire thing, but make sure you listen to the song Complete You, because there is quite the surprise at the end of the song that took me for a freaking ride. It took me by total surprise. And when I first heard it, I started laughing in utter amazement because it was one of the coolest things I've seen this year. I'm not going to say what it is because I want you to check out the song yourself. So when the song and the album releases on July 30th, 2021, run through the whole album from top to bottom. But when you get to Complete You, it's the 8th song on the track. Really take a listen and just wait for the big surprise to happen.
Here you go. I'm glad you picked up this one. I mean, obviously the ending is something, but just a little story about that song is that it started as a kind of like almost as a joke, but as more as a crazy experiment. We start like we started with like the most random like drum beat was like kind of like tropical, like Afro kind of like, it was like, let's have that challenge. Like, can we build a song out of this thing, and we started to add some percussion, like very uncommon elements for us. And yeah, somehow when I listen to this song right now, I'm like, somehow this is like the one of the most chunk song. I mean, for me, not for our fans, but like to me, it speaks to me in a very, it resonates to me, and like in a very specific way. And it's, when I listen to this song, I'm like, that's maybe the one track we've always wanted to write, all these years. And yeah, it's a weird track. It's still like one of the weirdest track, but it makes so much sense altogether. And yeah, you get that ending. I'm not gonna spoil anyone, but
if you didn't, I'll put it this way: if you didn't have that ending in there, man, the track would not be as strong. That ending
of
is
course.
needed to make that track just completely pop. I was blown away by it. I'm still thinking about that, thinking like, man, I can't believe you guys actually did that. But where it makes so much sense with Chunk is because you guys were blending different styles in there, man. You're consistently blending different styles within the same song itself. And on this one, with that surprise, you absolutely nailed it. So I can't wait for people to check that one out.
Hell yeah, me too. I'm not sure, but this track might be released just right before the July 30th. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure about the release plan. I don't want to say any mistake, but
yeah, fair enough.
Actually, this one, yeah, this specific twist, yeah, I just can't wait for people to hear it. But yeah.
So make sure you check out that specific twist when Complete You. That is one of the songs on Gone Are the Good Days when that comes out, whether it comes out as a single just before the album releases or if it comes out on album release day on July 30th, 2021, because you're in for one hell of a time.
Oh, yeah.
Well, all right, Bert, as we close out this episode of the podcast, one thing I always like to do at the end of this is to give you a chance to say anything you want to say, plug whatever you want to plug, promote whatever you want to promote. So, Bert, at the moment, the floor is yours.
I'm going to go with something very standard, just like you said, reminding everyone that we have a new album coming out in a couple of, we have pre-orders out, and these will there's like some links on our Facebook or something where you can buy some like gorgeous vinyls with like some piece of merch and all of that. And just I want to remind everyone that like we are living very tough times right now, especially in the music industry that has suffered COVID a lot, and the best way to help the artists and to help in general like the music industry behind it is to streaming obviously the album, but if you can like purchase those like couple of items we have for the album, like the vinyls, the merch, and all of that's awesome. So if you do, that's great. We are very proud of this record. Like, it's all been self-produced. We all did this by ourselves, which was kind of like such a great achievement for us, recorded, mixed, and written ourselves. And yeah, hopefully we'll be able to play it live. We just can't wait. I'm even scared that maybe I'm not even going to be able to like, I don't know, play this song properly. But I mean, hopefully we'll be able to do that. But yeah, in the meantime, yeah, I want to, like, when the album is out, I want to have all your comments. I want to know what song is your favorite. I want to know what song is your least favorite, and I want to know why. Just because for us, we took like so many risks writing this record that there's like a lot of information we need from you guys to continue. Because if you want to, start thinking of like a fifth record, we want to make sure we go in the right direction for you guys. So yeah, that's about it. I'm just stoked, man. And again, thank you for having me on the podcast. That's really cool. And I really enjoyed the fact that we're able to talk about the scene, the record, and all of that. It feels really good.
Well, Bert, thank you very much, but I'm going to have to end this episode with 3 continuous things I always do. Well, right when you said, like, you know, you got new merch and whatnot, like vinyls and whatnot, right? My mind was like, holy shit, I got to buy some. And my bank account's like, Kevin, please stop, for the love of God. You keep doing this. But my mind's always more powerful, so take that. But when it comes to ordering the album, ordering some merch, you know, buying a physical copy, buying a digital copy, streaming it, pre-saving it. When it comes to following along with Chunk, No Captain Chunk online, watching the music videos, when it comes to being able to comment on their stuff when the album releases, to tell them what your favorite track is, what your least favorite track is. But the most important thing is tell them why that is in those comments. You're going to want to be following them on all their social platforms. You're going to want to know where to buy this stuff, where to order this stuff. You're going to want to be a part of that. Trust me on that. But instead of making you guys go out and search for that, I'm going to do you one better. Take a look at the description of the podcast. If it's on YouTube, link description below. If it's on Spotify, Podcast, iHeart Radio, just take a look at the description of the episode. You're going to see something that says Find Chunk, No Captain Chunk online. There's going to be labels and links there so you guys can quickly click, find everything, like, share, subscribe, all their stuff, listen to all their stuff, pre-save or pre-order, do whatever you got to do. Now, Bert, here's the second thing. Whenever I have a guest on the podcast that I absolutely enjoy having on the podcast, I like to make a certain promise. And this has happened 100% of the time. This is not an exception to that rule, so this is going to continue to happen. So the promise to you is, this is not an if. This is no way an if. This is a when. I get to see you perform live for the first time, and it doesn't matter where it is. Hopefully Milwaukee, but it doesn't matter where it is. When I get to see you perform live for the first time, first round's on me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah. All right. Okay. All right. I'll take notes. Be careful. I'll remember this.
Oh, please remember this. Please make my bank account say, Kevin, please stop, for the love of God. What are you doing? To be like, ha ha ha. Give me 2 drinks, please.
All right, that's cool, man. Appreciate that.
All right, Bert, again, thank you very much for being on the podcast. This is easily one of the most in trouble conversations I've ever had, not only talking about your album, but then talking about the scene as well, really going in deep with it as well. So I cannot end this podcast in all good conscience by saying goodbye due to the fact that that is way too final. I'd love to have you back in the podcast again. Plus, I have to make good on my promise. I want to see you play live. I'm going to end up buying you that first round because it is on me, and I can't end with a goodbye. That's too final. So I'm going to end it with what I always end it with. See you later.
See you later.
Whoa, folks, that was my interview with Bert from the band Chunk, No Captain Chunk. Their brand new Gone Are the Good Days is coming out on Friday, July 30th, 2021. Want to make sure you go check out the album. Want to make sure you order some merch, order the vinyls if you can. Follow them on all their social media platforms. And when the album comes out, please comment what your favorite track is, what your least favorite track is to them, and tell them why. So you can find all the links for everything to like, share, subscribe, listen, stream, whatever it might be to their stuff in the description of the podcast, along with everything for MSOTD Rocks from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. This YouTube channel is where we also have the Chord Progression podcast videos. You can also find the audio streams of the podcast on Spotify, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeart Radio. So link description below for there. If you're not subscribed, please do. If you are, thank you. Please give us a like on everything you possibly can. I would absolutely love it and appreciate it. Also, thank you to the sponsor, Phoenix Fitness, for sponsoring this video and podcast. Please remember to use the code MSOTD at checkout to get 15% off your entire order. And make sure you listen to Gone to the Good Days on July 30th, 2021 when it comes out. So you can welcome back Chunk, No Captain Chunk, back to the music world. So on that note, that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression podcast, brought to you by MSOTD Rocks, where rock and metal thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes of Big, Healthy, and Hearty. See ya!